In this video, I'm going to teach you the basics of how to build in Fortnite, but I've done this a few times on my channel before. The difference is, today I'm bringing you a how to build practice map. In this map, there's a free build room where you can learn all these moves in slow motion and then practice it against bots as you go up higher in the air. But what makes this map special is there's challenge rooms. So every single build move I teach you in this video, there's going to be a practice room for that move, where you can challenge yourself on different difficulties until you have it fully mastered. Timestamps are down below if you want to skip around. We're starting with how to ramp rush. Ramp rushing is probably the most basic move you're going to learn in the game. It's just simply placing a ramp and then a wall. This is when you're pushing up towards an enemy in the fight. You got to place that wall behind to strengthen your builds. If he tries to spray you out, he's going to have to spray through 2 builds. If you want to make it a little bit stronger, you can practice placing a floor at the bottom. So you place the floor before the wall. While learning these builds, you can practice on slow mode and then work your way up to the faster options. The last thing I want you to practice with ramp rushing is placing the walls behind the builds, but let's say the enemy was up an extra layer from you. In this situation, if you kept ramping up, you would probably get shot by the enemy. So instead, you place walls above you, jump on a ramp, and then extend ramps this way. So what it looks like is walls and then jump and ramp. This just gets you up an extra layer and gets you over the enemy if they were 1 layer above you. If they were multiple layers above you, you may have to place more walls up and then jump on a ramp and then another ramp. But start out by just practicing with the walls like this. And once you have those moves down, you can move over to the ramp pushing drill. In this drill, this enemy is going to shoot at you. So if he's way up there, you're going to have to build these walls just like we just talked about to get over top of him. So based on where the enemy is, you have to do different moves. The enemy's here, you can just ramp over top of him. And try to set up good peaks while you're doing it, just like that. But in this situation, once again, you're gonna have to place the walls, otherwise you're gonna get hit, just like that happened to me. So that's the idea with ramp rushing. You can turn it on to fast mode and the enemy will hit you sooner if you expose yourself. The next move we're gonna work on is editing upwards. So you wanna start by placing a ramp and then a cone on top, and then you edit through the cone. Ramp, cone, edit, ramp, cone, edit. Once you have this down, you can move on to a double edit where you place a cone and a floor, and then double edit through. Practice going different directions, trying to get a variety of different forms of edits down, and once you can do this, we can move on to triple edits. But once again, you can start out on slow mode and work your way up. For a triple edit, once you get through the double edit, you place a wall and edit through. I like to strafe back and forth, going from right side to left side. It gives you a little bit extra time to complete the triple edit, versus if you were just running straight forward, it's kind of hard to keep up. You have to go so much faster. But by strafing, it gives you a little bit extra time to complete the full triple edit. But triple edits are a bit hard to do. Once you have a single and double edit down, you can move over to the editing up drill. In this drill, there's a green barrier and it chases you as you go up. And there's different difficulties. It'll change the speed of the barrier. So you can practice editing up and see how the barrier chases after me. If I fall behind, it teleports you back to the start. Every time you complete it, this number goes up. So try to get it as many times in a row as possible. And once you go to all the way to hard mode, it basically moves as fast as you go. So it's pretty tough. See if you can get all the way to the hard speed, and then you'll have it 100% mastered. The next move you can practice is doing edit downs. There's lots of different ways to do double edit downs, but what I would want you to practice at first is double editing through a floor and cone, placing a ramp and flipping that ramp. It's definitely a lot harder than editing up, but this is probably one of the easier versions of doing it. You could also do a double edit through a floor and cone and place walls and a cone a layer down. But the reason it's good to be able to edit down is because a lot of times in a fight, you might get a floor and cone over the enemy and then they're going to be right there, and you can double edit down and piece control them. So being able to do this consistently as you go down is a really good skill to have. Once you feel like you have that down at a decent level, you can move into the edit down drill. And it's just like the last one. There's a barrier that chases you, and you just want to practice editing down and try to be faster than that barrier. Try to do a variety of different edit downs. For example, you can do it with ramps. And I know this is like really advanced what I'm showing on screen, but just practice the simplest forms at first, like I showed you earlier, and practice it on slow mode in the free build section. Next up, we're gonna get into 90s. Let's start in the free build section. The way 90s work is you place a ramp and then wall and then walls to the side, a layer up, and then jump on a ramp. And I like to add a floor as well, so I look down before I place the ramp, and I place a floor and then ramp. So it looks like this. Walls, floor, ramp. Walls, floor, ramp. The goal of a 90 is to try to land as high up on the ramp as possible when you're turning, because that'll get you to high ground faster. So for example, I don't want to like be way down here when I land on the ramp. I want to try to land up here, so then I can immediately go into the next jump. You see? Something you might struggle with is you might end up going underneath your ramp just like that. It's important to be on the left side of this ramp when going up, turn and place the walls, and then jump up. If you're on the right side of this and you try to do it, you're going to land under. Try to get this down consistently, and then there's one extra trick you need to add on to your 90s, and that is the ability to do an infinite 90. So after doing 2 90s, you may notice you're starting to get jump fatigue and you can't really move as fast. So the key is, after doing 2 90s, you want to be all the way on the left of this ramp and then look down, place floor, ramp. You see that? You don't jump on the third one. That'll give you time to regenerate your jumping ability, and then you can do infinite 90s. Typically in a fight, you're not going to do too many 90s in a row. It's more so like, let's say you're on high ground and the enemy is building up to you and you want to just get up 2 extra layers real quick so you can like spray down at them. You would just do 2 90s really quick and then start spraying them down or something. 90s are good for holding high ground, but if the enemy's already above you, doing a 90 is not a good idea because look, my top is fully visible. They'll just look down and spray at you while you're 90ing. But once you get the idea of 90s down, head over to the drill, and just like the last ones, there's a barrier that follows you up. You want to try to 90 faster than the barrier chases you. If you fall off to the side, it's going to restart you at the beginning. Next up on this list is how to side jump. You could just go straight into the drill, but I'll just show you in the free build section real quick. So basically, a side jump is basically when you want to get around this cone, or maybe there's a floor there. You want to side jump around it and land on a floor. But you want to do a little bit more than just land on a floor, because what if the enemy's right there? They're going to have a free shot on me. So what I want you to practice is side jump around the cone and place a wall and then a floor. Once you get this down, head on over to the drill. And in the drill, there's going to be a floor here. But basically what you want to do is ramp cone, place this wall, and then there's the orb there, and you take a peek shot on the orb. If you want to take it a step further, you could also piece control around the orb by getting those back walls. But what I want you to focus on is placing the wall and landing on a floor, and then setting up a peek shot. The next move we're going to learn is your first high ground retake, and this is probably the most important retake in the game. This is what it looks like in full speed. Now, why is this retake so important? Look how protected it is. It protects your top, your sides, your front, and you can choose to block either your left, if you know the enemy's over there, or your right. This retake is used by a ton of pros because of how protective it is. But let me slow it down for you. It's really quite easy to do. All you have to do is place a ramp, and then swing walls up and place another ramp on top. You could place the 2 ramps first and then swing the walls to protect your sides. This will block your top early if you place that top wall first, but practice doing this from both sides. You want to get comfortable doing it from the left and from the right. And once you have this down, you can go over to the drill, but I want to show you one extra thing you need to know with this retake. You can also edit out the sides if you want to change directions while going up to high ground. Let's say the enemy was right here, you could piece control him and take a shot. This is getting into some more advanced stuff. What I want you to do at the start is just practice going in a straightforward motion and doing this on repeat. So now let's go over to the drill and I'll show you how this works. Basically, there's different difficulties off to the side. That determines how fast the orbs will shoot you. I'm going to go easy because I'm going to do this in slow-mo for you. So basically, there's going to be orbs, see on the right there? And you want to block it off by doing the retake in the correct direction. The next one's on the left, so we're going to block the left. We got left here, and then we got right. And this will teach you to focus on the orbs instead of focusing on your builds. You want to keep your eyes on the enemy here. And then once you get to the top, you can see we got 1 point. Then you can turn it on to the harder difficulty and practice doing it faster. And boom, course complete, 2 points. The last thing we're going to be talking about in this video, and there's 2 drills to do it, and it is tunneling. Let me go to the free build section to show you what tunneling is at first. Tunneling is one of the most important things in the game. Basically, it's building a sequence of boxes. And this is really good for an end game. Let's say you're in a tournament and there's enemies on all sides of you. You need to be confident building tunnels because this will get you from point A to point B safely while blocking every angle. There's different ways to do tunnels. For example, you could do it how I was doing it right there, where you build 2 floors. You want to kind of keep your crosshair in the center of the screen. You don't have to flick up and down like a lot of beginners do. Just a gentle movement in the center of your screen. And then you can add walls to the sides. Another step you can add to your tunnels is by adding a front wall. So you'd swing walls on all sides of you and then edit through. And one last form of tunnel you can do is called a cheap tarp, where you build a floor, a wall to your side, and then a ramp. And this uses only 3 builds instead of like a full tunnel, which uses, 6? 6 full builds if you're going to do a full tunnel versus a cheap tarp. It's only 3. And you can do this from both sides. So now that you know how to tunnel, let's head over to the tunneling drill. This first one is just like the others, where there's a barrier chasing you. You can practice on different difficulties, and you just want to try to get all the way to the end of the course. And if you leave open your sides, the orb is going to hit you. You see that? And once you get that drill down, you can move on to the reactive tunneling drill. And this is where it gets a little bit harder. So basically, you want to walk onto the circle. I'm going to turn it on to fast speed. You walk onto the circle, and you want to follow it in the direction it takes you. So it's taking me this way. And once the arrow appears, you can start tunneling. It's going to switch layers, and the arrow is going to tell you where to go next. See, it's telling me to go left, forward, 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 right. And you just want to try to stay a step ahead with the arrow here. Practice doing different forms of tunnels, but with all of them, try to keep your eye on the arrow. It's a little bit hard to do like cheap tarps in this because it's so fast paced. Cheap tarps are more so if you're on like the front edge of zone and you're like slowly tarping forward, you know what I mean? Like this. But if you fall too far behind the circle, it's going to reset and you fail. But if you survive 60 seconds, you complete the challenge. So this map has lots of different ways to practice. If you can get all of these drills down on fast speed, you have completely mastered building. After you learn all these moves, you may be wondering, what's next? I have a lot of other creative maps down below if you want to take your skills to the next level, like a how to piece control map, which teaches you within the map how to piece control. You just shoot the blocks on the wall and tutorials will play, teaching you the basics of piece control. I also have 1v1 maps where you can practice using the build moves you learned in this video in action. Lots of other maps linked down below. More content on the way, so stay tuned. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.